This is a podcast about our lived experience, which unfortunately includes infant death and subsequent mental health struggles. Please take good care of yourself and only listen if this content feels safe for you right now. We'll still be here when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Judith.
And I'm Alina. We are internet friends turned real-life friends who both experienced the tragic loss of our sons to sudden infant death syndrome in winter of 2021.
In the year after Aiden died, my husband and I both became unemployed. My parents divorced, and we had to move 5 times for various reasons.
And as for me, just a few weeks before my son Quinn died, my then husband had come out to me as a transgender woman and were subsequently divorcing.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot.
But as long as we're living, we will love our sons deeply and work to make sure that we live a life that makes them proud.
Welcome to As Long As I'm Living podcast.
We're so glad you're here.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to As Long As I'm Living podcast. This is Alina, Quinn's mom. This is a very, very special episode coming out on a very, very special week. This coming Saturday is my wedding. So this episode is an interview we recorded with Quinn's stepdad all the way back in February. We recorded this so long ago, and a combination of just shit happening in my life and just the personal nature of it made this one like kind of a tough one for me to edit. I finally got my act in gear to edit this, and I feel like this is the perfect week to release it. So here is part 1 of my interview with Tyler, Quinn's stepdad. Part 2 will be out next week, following our wedding. So follow along on Instagram. I'm going to be posting a lot of content relating to this episode on our stories this week. You'll hear us talk about old episodes. You'll hear us talk about old Instagram posts. You'll be getting additional color on all of that from Tyler's point of view. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I certainly enjoy it. He's a wonderful person. He's just as wonderful as he sounds in this episode, and so excited for our wedding on Saturday. Okay, and with that, I'm going to send you in.
This is Tyler. He's my boyfriend.
This is Tyler, and he is your boyfriend.
I'm Tyler, and I'm Alina's boyfriend.
We're doing it, guys. We are doing it. So, welcome to As Long As I'm Living podcast. This is a not requested episode. Nobody asked for this, which
But I think there's a lot of interest in this.
Oh, there's a lot of interest. And if you are somebody who doesn't typically listen to our podcast, but you are tuning in because you are somebody who is curious and a looky-loo,
Yeah.
my message to you is, hi, welcome. I would do the same exact thing. This is the exact kind of episode that I would be dying to listen to, even if I didn't typically listen to the podcast.
Do you want to give just like everyone a brief synopsis of your love life over the past 2 years? Why don't you?
I would love to do that.
Oh, I would love to hear this.
Okay, so in 2017, I got married to Kaylee. A lot of you know Kaylee. Kaylee is Quinn's other parent. And so Quinn was born, we got married in November 2017. We met in college. We got married November 2017. And then Quinn was born September 2020. And then in December of 2020, Kaylee came out to me as a transgender woman. And we were figuring out like how we were going to make it work, our marriage, if we were going to make it work. And I'm straight and she is a woman and I'm a woman. So that was confusing and complicated. And then our son, our only child, died. And along with that came kind of a reckoning for our marriage. And we did decide to separate. And so we decided to separate in February of 2021. I started dating again in August of 2021 when I moved into this apartment. And I met the person you guys are going to hear from in November. So,
For the record, I just want to say that I have been on this podcast before.
He has been on the
Yes.
podcast before.
And if you've been listening to As Long As I'm Living podcast for the whole time, you might recognize my voice as the third voice ever on this podcast.
Are you really?
He is.
The third voice ever?
Yep.
Mhm. Believe it or not, I actually saw Tyler's Hinge profile live as we were recording this podcast. And so episode 3 of this podcast contains me seeing Tyler's profile for the very first time.
Here is what I'm looking for. They have to be a man. Definitely.
Someone who identifies as a man.
Identifies as a man and is not questioning that in any way, shape, or form. That is top priority. I am straight. I'm coming out as straight on this podcast. I'm looking for a man. Someone who wants kids, who wants a family, who values having their own family and wants to raise healthy, well-adjusted children. I don't really like people who are like hyper masculine, although I do love a beard. I love well-groomed facial hair. So that is a bonus, but not required. Another bonus, but not required is I would love somebody with light or blue eyes because Quinn had blue eyes. And I would like all my kids to have blue eyes. I have blue eyes. So again, bonus, not required. Okay, they don't need to be particularly tall, but I do need someone with a tall personality. I am not that tall. I'm pretty short. I'm 5'4", but I have a very tall personality and I need somebody who is going to hold their own with me. I can't, they have to have a tall personality. And then I need somebody who's experienced enough trauma or loss that they know where I'm coming from, but not so much or so recent that I have to do a lot of caretaking.
Someone who's been through a trauma and been through therapy.
Yes, they have to have been to therapy.
Oh, and here's another thing that we're looking for. Someone who likes to do takeout.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Someone who's happy at home.
Yes, someone who's happy at home.
I'm with you. I mean, I am different, but I respect it. And I think when we hinge together, which hopefully we'll do together now, I always say to Alina, look, that guy is too active. He's looking for someone to go on life's adventure around the world. That is not you. You want someone to eat life's adventure from home, you know? So let's hinge. I want to see these matches and I want to see your chat.
Okay. So I have this, one of the things on my profile is this video of me like crossing my eyes. We'll post it on our Instagram so that you guys can see. I want your thoughts.
Okay, wait, before we say any more, let's see if people like it or not, because I want to know what the average human thinks. That's what I want to know.
Okay. So anyway, this guy responded to my cross-eyed video.
Got a nice smile.
Yeah, he has a good smile. Okay, he has a video. Hang on. I hope that you'll be able to hear this. Okay, hang on. So the prompt is, dating me will look like.
Don't let me go into Trader Joe's unsupervised. All I did was buy higher quality bagel bites.
That's funny. I think he's funny too. I think he's cute.
And he has blue eyes and a beard. So
I think he's cute.
yeah, I think so too. Okay, so I'm going to match with him. I'll deal with that later.
You know, it's so funny because I remember when Alina said, oh, they have this new thing, like a voice prompt, like you could do like a little video or something. Like it was new on Hinge at the time because I was hinging with Alina and not very many people did it. And I actually think you were one of like the first people who successfully put a little video.
Yeah.
And it was funny. We both liked it.
And she showed me in that clip multiple times.
You know, as I was reflecting on this conversation we were going to have, I was thinking back to what you said you wanted in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like we spoke about very clearly, you were very clear in what you were looking for. Do you want to share with everyone? Because I remember pretty vividly what you said.
Yes.
Do you remember?
The things I was looking
what did you say?
for, I was looking for light or blue eyes. And Tyler, your eyes are what color?
Green, and there's a story behind that.
So they're light. We'll allow it.
Yes.
I was looking for
a tall personality.
Which Tyler does have. I was looking for
you were looking for a bald man with a beard.
Oh yeah, I was looking for somebody. I am attracted to men with facial hair. Tyler does have a beard. I was also looking for somebody who had enough trauma, but not super recently, that I had to do a lot of caretaking. And
which Tyler doesn't really have.
You know, he has like lowercase to middle case T trauma. He doesn't have any of that capital T shit, which I kind of like.
No, there's some good family shit there, though.
He's got some good background trauma.
Thank God. Thank God.
And wait, what else were they looking for?
Ooh, there was Judith had the whole bit about not going out or something, or like.
Yes, I didn't want somebody who wanted to go out a lot, and Tyler does like to stay home.
Yeah.
And just know everybody that Tyler hits all of these qualifications.
Except she thought my eyes were blue for a long time.
All things to say, I found this cute bald man who hits all of my qualifications. I think probably we actually asked on our Instagram, what do people want to know about what it's like to date a bereaved mom? And up there for the most frequently asked question was, what did you think when you first heard about my life story?
I actually asked the same question when I met Tyler for the first time. And I want to couple it with the question I asked at the same time, which is like, why weren't you freaked out? Like, why didn't you say, like, these are huge red flags? This person is not ready for a relationship, or this person like needs someone way more qualified to be their partner than me. Like, I would have, if I had a friend dating Alina, I'd be like, this is not a good idea. Why are you doing that? But you didn't do that. So I'd say, first, what did you think? And second, why weren't you freaked out?
Yeah, I want you to tell the story of how you heard about all of my shit on our first date.
Okay, we went on a first date.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great first date. I don't know. I feel like we had talked like normal first date stuff for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of like sat back a little and brought up, you're like, I just want to be forward with something. It was like along those lines with those words. And you just flat out told me that you have a son.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was in this order, because you're like, I have a son. And I'm like, oh, and he died. And we've talked about this a lot, but I remember that I was frozen because you told me later on that like there was like still a smile on my face, but it was not a smile. It was a frozen smile.
He had been smiling as I was talking, and then I said, and he died, and he was just like,
yeah. And I think I said like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's kind of just, as a person who has not experienced that,
mm-hmm.
it's so, I don't know, my mind was going a million miles an hour of kind of like, what do I do with that?
It's big. It's a big set of information.
Yeah, but it was also not, both you and Judith have asked me this before, but it was like, I never saw it as a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was never something, I've never saw it, never seen it, never will see it as something that is an indicator of who you are. It's something that happened to you.
Yeah.
I've said this so many times. Is it something that happened to you?
Yeah.
And I guess it's more how you dealt with it
mm-hmm.
that is an indicator of who you are, which is why I never saw it as a red flag. Because as I was going on dates, I was getting to know you and I liked you.
Mm-hmm. So on that note, I have asked Tyler if he'd be willing to share the journal entry that he has from the night of our first date, because I think it encapsulates his original thoughts about me. So he's going to grab his journal.
What day was it?
November 8th. And while he is searching through his journal to find that, I want to say, for the record, for our podcast listeners, my first date with Tyler was the day before Alina's bad day. If you've listened to that episode.
Really?
Yeah. You know, I was not in a good place that week. And I think the very first time I ever showed my face on our Instagram stories was a photo of me on the floor. And I'll try to find it and post it. But it was a photo of me on the floor. And I was like, I have a date tonight. Like, better get up. Better get up and go on this date. And it was a date with Tyler. But so he's going to read to you now. This is what Tyler wrote in his journal after our first date. Go ahead.
November 8th, 2021. Up at 6:30 because of daylight. Oh, I don't have to read that part.
You just read the part that's relevant.
Date at 6 o'clock. I walk to Davis.
That's me. I'm on the date.
Alina is really cute, smart, gets my jokes, introvert, very nice, down to earth, also married and dead baby.
also married and dead baby.
But dealing with it extraordinarily well. We laugh a lot.
That's true.
2 beers and fries. She sneakily paid.
I sneakily paid.
Walked her to car. We didn't kiss, but we're both excited for the second date.
Oh my God, that's the cutest thing I've ever heard. That's so cute.
Laughed at his jokes. Cute and smart. Also married and dead baby.
I think to me though, even though you say like it wouldn't have been a red flag, I still think it's a lot to take on.
Okay, so let me like go back and say like what were you thinking when you heard about Quinn? And also let me also add, because I didn't tell you about the circumstances of my divorce until our second date. So what were you thinking in all of when you heard about those things? Tell us more.
I don't know. It was just accepting it all, and just you were here and out on a date. And I think, for better or worse, I was a person who was just not going to judge you immediately for that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, had you been a different person and had dealt with this all differently, yeah, I would have been like, this is too much. But you are who you are.
Yeah.
And I liked you enough
That's a really good point.
on the first date that I wanted to keep seeing you.
Yeah, and I'll also say I remember distinctly on our second date when I told you about the circumstances of my divorce. You said to me, I told you, so 10 days before my son died, my then spouse came out as transgender, and you turned to me and you said, "Are you okay?"
I turned to you. I literally turned to her and I was like, "Are you okay?"
And what did I say?
No. She said in that exact tone, "No."
No, I'm not okay. I think I probably also quickly followed it with, yeah, I'm okay, but like, no, I'm not okay. Right?
Yeah.
It's
And
okay
also,
that you're not okay.
It is.
Great book.
Thank you.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out to Megan Devine. So we had a couple of early dates. You seemed open to dating me, and I feel like we had good chemistry from day one. Like, I was into you, you were into me, we liked each other. I think a big turning point, not a turning point, but a next step in our relationship was for me to introduce you to the world of dead babies, which is not a fun place to be. It's unfortunately where I live. And I think that your first introduction to the world of dead babies was again, our podcast listeners will be familiar with this story. It happened in the episode, I think it was either the November 30th episode or the December 1st episode, but I had a meltdown and I yelled at a lady on the street. And you and I, Tyler and I, had a date that night. And I remember thinking, like, should I tell him about what happened today? Because, like, that was the big thing that happened to me that day, was that I yelled at a woman on the street.
Got out of your car.
I got out of my car. I was coming home from therapy, and I was in a bad place mentally. This woman gave me a glare on the street, and I got out of my car and I yelled at her, and I was like, I just came from therapy. My son is dead, blah, 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 blah. And I wound up deciding, I chose to tell you about that in the beginning of this date, which is probably like our 7th or 8th date.
Yeah, if not earlier.
And I knew it didn't reflect well on me. I knew it would have sounded to a non-grieving person like I was a bad person. Objectively a bad person.
I don't know if I've told you this in these words, is that I think when you were telling me that, because you were driving us to the date, and I think when you told me all that, I think in my head I was like, oh shit. At the same time, it was a dual thought. I will admit it was a dual thought of, oh shit, like that's intense. And at the same time, take your whole fucking story into perspective.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not, for everything that's happened to you, great. Go yell at a woman on the street.
I agree. Yeah.
This was the night that Tyler interacted with Judith for the first time.
It was?
Yes, it was.
God, I don't remember
So
any
let
of
me
this.
let
Okay.
me paint the picture. I revealed to Tyler my date of 7 or 8 dates that I had gotten out of my car to yell at a woman on the street. And I think I even said to you, I was like, I have to tell you, this is actually normal. Like, this is the kind of thing that grieving people do. We are not well, and like, I'm not proud of it, but like, it makes sense to me that I did this, and I'm not ashamed of it. Right? This is what kind of like the attitude I had about it. And then you called me. You had just come from your anatomy scan.
Oh. Wasn't my best self either.
And so Judith was not her best self. And so Tyler was in my car, and Judith's voice comes over the Bluetooth speaker. And you were hot off your anatomy scan with your now living, 9-month-old daughter. Neither of us was in good shape. And I just remember I was like trying to I felt this like pull because I wanted to get you to convince him that what I had done was normal, but also like the way you can convince him of that is by telling a story of your own that makes you sound crazy. And so I got you to tell him about when you stole the dead baby statues from the Halloween decor. So we're driving to this date, and I'm like, tell him about when you stole the dead babies.
Oh my God.
Listeners, you know that story.
That is hysterical. Tyler, again, you didn't think to yourself, like, wow, these people maybe could use 6 months. Like, I'm not saying like dump her, I'm just saying maybe like they need 6 months. Just like
No, I think that actually, I mean, it's really funny you do say that. Like, I think that thought did cross my mind a lot.
That I wasn't ready.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it was what, well, not, you're not ready. It was, is she?
What's the
Yeah.
difference?
Is me saying like, oh, I'm judging you for being not ready, as opposed to
Got
me saying, I like this girl. Is she ready?
I understand, yes.
To keep dating.
Yeah.
I did just check my journal. It was date number 7 where I learned about that.
Wow. That's just a lot.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. At the same time, while I was doing all this, I don't know why. I think it just affected me a lot of, I'm not going to say these are not crazy actions both of you have taken, but they're like justified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's bad.
It's bad.
But Tyler, like, your friends are so exceedingly normal. Like, it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like if like the whitest wasp in the entire world
Him.
Hey.
moved to Mongolia and moved in with a tribe traveling in the desert. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what? It's just, to me, like, it's like the learning curve was steep and just like you're thrown in with the wolves by choice.
And I get that. It's like, this is such a monumental everything in your guys' lives. I will say, from my standpoint, I actually said this to you a lot in the beginning, is I'm an outsider. I'm new here.
You used to say all the time, I'm new here.
I'm new here.
Yeah, I'm new here.
And I did not experience this in any way. I do not have kids. I don't even, I feel like I do. I feel like I don't even know how to comprehend what it would feel like. So I'm a little ignorant, actually, naive
Yeah.
of all this. And so like when all this has happened to you, I'm still like, oh yeah, but they're still a person.
So interesting.
I actually remember like fairly early on me saying to you, like, this is a lot. And you were like, I can handle it. Like, lay it on me. And I was like, you can't handle it. I'm not going to lay it on you. And we have since talked about it. And now that you are much more in the fold, like, you can admit even now you couldn't handle it. If I had laid it all on you early, you would not have. We would not still be together.
Yeah.
If she had, on the record, if she had laid it on me early, I would not be here.
And by
It's
laid
a
it,
lot.
by laid it on you, I mean
That's
like
a lot.
really let you see the intricacies, the depths of what grieving looks like.
Yeah.
how profoundly it's affected my life. Like, I like to think I did a good job, like, introducing you to that slowly.
Yeah.
But
So
you were not a good guide on that. You were like,
No.
I'm ready. Like, whatever, do
And
it. And I was like, I don't think you can handle it.
So a thing we actually say a lot now, because we do talk a lot, is I say a lot, 4 and 14s,
Yes, you do say that.
is that I feel like most people in the world, a Tyler philosophy, have experienced most emotions
On a scale from 1 to 10.
on a scale from 1 to 10. And so I would usually say to Alina, I have experienced that feeling at a 4 or a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. Alina has experienced all those feelings she's talked about on this podcast at 14s.
Right. The level that no human is meant to experience or
Correct.
survive.
Yeah.
And so it's just like extrapolating that as a person who has not experienced a 14 can. We, the non-traumatized over here, can and can't do it.
Yeah.
In a way.
So what did you think? When was the first time you remember seeing me actively grieve? And we had a listener question that was, what did you think the first time you saw me on the floor?
There's 2 answers to this.
Okay.
Number 1 is, was it our 3rd or 4th date? We went to a bar.
That was our 5th date.
And Alina she should not have come out that night.
Mm-mm.
She was just not there.
Mm-hmm.
She was in a completely different headspace. But was trying to be there, but couldn't be. And that was like the first, I think, real time of us dating that I just saw you not there. Or truly actively not.
I was not particularly present,
engaging, exactly.
Yeah.
So the date ended quickly and we sent you home.
Yes.
And so, but the second time it was after, I would say, a few months of dating. I don't know. I forget. But I had kept saying, tag me in. Because I wanted to support Alina. And she was in a bad place one night. And because I had kept saying that, invited me over. And I had to even sneak into her apartment building because she was incapable of getting up. And so...
Yeah, for context, I remember distinctly, it was January 11th of 2022. So this was a week before Quinn's first death anniversary. And I think I prepped you for January saying, hey, I'm going to be in rough shape in January, just FYI.
You did.
It's not about you. I am just not super well. Like, here are things you can do. Here's like, whatever. I tried to be very proactive about it. But it was January 11th. And
I forget if I got a bulleted list or not.
You got a bulleted list.
Yeah.
I sent you a Google Doc.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I'm not having a good night, but you keep telling me basically that you want me to let you in. And so I'm going to. Will you come over? And you did.
And I did.
And how did it go?
I found Alina. She had unlocked the door a while before, so I let myself in, and she was just in her bed, not moving, just there, kind of a little sobbing, just there.
I was a little bit comatose, a little out of it.
Yeah.
I was not on planet Earth.
So I just went in, cuddled, and that was it. And
yeah, and then you went home that night too. You didn't stay over.
You sent me home.
What did that feel like for you? What were you thinking when you first saw me like that?
I think by that point, by January, I knew I really, really liked you. So it was still a thing. And honestly, going back to the first thing we talked about is like, none of these things that have happened to you or to you, Judith, are a reflection of who you are. I mean, both of you have asked me so many times, is it a red flag? I still don't see it as a red flag. It's not something that you did or you acted to do. It's something that happened to you. In every way that I've seen that you both have responded to it is a reflection of who you are. So you're not, every time anytime any of this was ever brought up, it was never like you either we're going off the deep end. I mean, I guess you yelled at someone in the street, but it was always so understandable.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Judith?
I just forget sometimes how bad it is. I think it's really weird to be the person that, like, someone looks at you and just feels so bad.
Yeah.
Because I think that we forget a lot of the time, like,
it's that bad.
I really forget sometimes that there's a world of people who don't have to deal with this. And hearing Tyler just, like, say, like, and I just felt, you know, like, you didn't do anything. It just happened to you, this horrible thing. And he just feels so empathetic. I think a lot of the people in our world at this point are kind of, like, hardened to the facts. Our families, our close friends, everyone's just kind of, like, hardened to the fact that this happened. And to hear somebody from the outside who cares so much and who can say, like, wow, this is really bad. And I just felt bad and full of empathy. And that's what he's saying, that he just wanted to take care of you. He wanted to help. And it just feels like at this point that the people that are still there, when I think about my life, of people who are there out of obligation, like all the people who wanted to help are now gone. Everyone is tired of giving. And you're kind of, like, stuck with these people who don't have that energy to give.
That has been confusing for me about you, that you keep choosing to be here. How many times have I said to you, like, you don't have to be here. Like, my family and my friends have to be here. Like, they're locked in, you know, and they do their best, but you are literally, like, you entered this relationship,
like, you're choosing to do it,
knowing how bad it is, and you just continually choose it. And at this point, I don't think you're choosing it. I think you're locked in and you love me and you're stuck. But, like, for a long time, you were every single day choosing to keep seeing me, even though I was that damaged.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like when, you know what it reminds me of, Alina? Remember earlier today, I was telling you, no one cares when you're sick and no one cares when you're tired. Which is true. I think it's, like, really weird if you're like, I'm tired. And then if someone's like, oh my God, you're tired? Well, you should rest. Like, let me get the bed ready for you so you can rest. Like, you didn't sleep? Did you have a nightmare? What happened? Can you imagine if you say you're tired and then, like, the person opposite you wasn't like, okay, well, we're all tired. The person opposite you was like, oh my God, she's tired. We have to stop what we're doing and take care of her because she's tired.
I think probably everybody listening to this can recognize how extra bad my circumstances have been. That my baby died, and then I also lost my marriage. I didn't have a spouse to grieve with me. I don't get to, in my home, have a partner who also knew Quinn. Like, that's very bad. But I do also have the gift of a partner who is not grieving. And I also recognize how good that is, because you have your own shit going on. Like, I'm not going to say Tyler has nothing going on, but he is not grieving a dead baby. And that gives him so much more capacity to support me in grieving a dead baby than a spouse who was grieving the same baby would be able to give. And that is good for me. I recognize that is good for me, even as I recognize that I probably wouldn't choose this if I had to choose it.
Understandable.
All right, that's it. That's part 1 of our interview with Tyler, Quinn's stepdad. Come back next week for more with Tyler. And yeah, follow us on Instagram so you can check out all of the additional stuff I'm going to post. We talked, as you probably heard, about a lot of different things in this episode. So I'll try to make sure to post those to our stories this week so you have all of the supporting detail. Lots of love to all of you, and hope you have a good week.
To all of Alina and Judith's new friends, they want to hear from you. Email them at aslongasimlivingpodcast@gmail.com and follow them on Instagram at aslongasimlivingpodcast. They'll get back to you as soon as their grieving brains allow.
Yay!
Okay, I'm gonna do another take.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too.
To all of Alina and Judith's new friends, they want to hear from you. Email them at aslongasimlivingpodcast@gmail.com and follow them on Instagram at aslongasimlivingpodcast. They'll get back to you as soon as their grieving brains allow.
Yay.
Hey guys, that was perfect.
You got it. That's the one.